Hi, friends. A couple quick notes before we begin today's episode. One, if you are at all affected by the Los Angeles fires, please go to ca.gov/LA fires to get some support and resources and information about the fires. There is now federal aid available for Californians who are affected by the fires. And obviously, if you are displaced, you need resources. If you lost your home, there is more information and resources on there that you can get some support, especially also if you have an animal with you. There's a lot of information online for that. Now, this all being said, I wanted to kind of still have some sense of normalcy because I am also in LA and also have evacuated because of the fires just to be extra safe, and I am doing well. My cat is doing well, Cleo's doing okay, and my roommate is also with me. That being said, I still wanted to record this episode with all of you while we were staying at our friend's place. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. And please note that this episode was filmed right by their poolside, and I did not realize at the time how incredibly loud the water was going to be. My mics typically are noise reducing. However, in this case, it was very, very, very loud. So I hope that doesn't deter you from listening to this episode. If it does, I totally understand. Otherwise, this is a really, really great conversation between me and my best friend Melissa as we talk about 2025, what to expect, and how you can really make the most of it. So without further ado, let's get into the episode.
You're listening to the Soul Whispers podcast. This is your guide to break out of your fears, follow the path that lights you up, and come home to yourself. I'm your host, certified life coach and soul whisperer, Jen Sway. Before we begin, know that wherever you are in your journey, you can trust yourself. You're being divinely guided, and your life is meaningful. Now, let's start the show. 2025, escaping the fires. Might have some shades on for this episode. But hello, friends, and welcome back to the Soul Whispers podcast. I'm with my best friend and now roommate, Melissa. We are escaped from the Palisades fires. We're close, but not like in the danger zone. We just preemptively evacuated, and I thought, what better way to kick off the new year than to do a podcast with my best friend to look into 2024 with some tarot and oracle, because the world is literally going into flames.
Not dramatic.
No, not at all. There's been a lot of talk on the spiritual metaphor of things burning. You know, like it's a new beginning, Hollywood being on fire, all these things. And it's interesting because 2025 is actually a 9-year for the collective. 9 being the number of like ending old cycles, allowing the old to leave, tying up loose ends. That's what the number 9 really stands for. And 9 in tarot is actually the hermit. So it's about going within to shed light on where there were shadows and to release all those things. So the fires is a metaphor for that, I guess. But let's go ahead and do a collective tarot reading. How are you feeling?
Oh, it's such a mixture of emotions.
Yeah.
It's like in between, I don't know, eternal distress and like complete ignorance is bliss. Like trying to ignore that it's happening, but then also having this like existential doom.
Yeah, we're literally been doom scrolling every day, checking the fires, checking in with friends, being like, are you guys okay? Oh, you guys are evacuating again? Oh, okay. Or, you know,
Like you evacuated from someplace and then you evacuate from the place that you evacuated to.
yeah, it's kind of wild, honestly. So many people have lost their homes. People that I've known and like people that I've worked with who lost their homes already. So it's just sad overall. But at the end of the day, like, shit happens in the world. There's always tragedies, and I really trust in the yin yang and the balance of the world. Like, there will be times of good, there will be times of bad, there will be times of chaos, there will be times of peace, times of war, and times of like completely coming together, you know? So we see that on both sides. I was actually thinking about this yesterday, where I think community is great and independence is great, but they really have to coexist, and it's really only in these times where shit goes wrong where people feel the need to even lean into community. Otherwise, if everyone can be independent and happily independent and just be by themselves, they can be an island, like there's no need for community.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like in these times to come together in hard times and like also celebrate good times that we see the value of community and we can build stronger. So I feel hopeful in the way that this will continue playing out like that now.
That's a good approach.
How did you feel in 2024? You're not going to 2025 with all this energy.
It's funny because I feel like at the end of every year, you're like so hopeful for the next year. Like it was like, okay, yeah, like 2024, crazy. 2025 is gonna be great. Like 2025 is gonna be my year, you know, all of the cliches. And then it's like we're 10 days into 2025, and there's already like, well, even like, you know, start like 7 days into 2025, and things are on fire.
Literally.
And we're having to evacuate our homes and like not go to work. And yeah, it's like, oh shoot, like is this the setup for the next year?
Ending old cycles, burning away all the crap. Yeah.
So yeah.
I think it's so funny the through line of you wanting to go to a Venice Run Club for so long, and every single time there's been something that like gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
the one time when I'm gonna go, it's like, oh, you cannot. The air is like horribly polluted because things are on fire, and then it just got worse. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, let's see what we have in store for 2025 as a collective. We're going to do an energy reading for everyone to see where people are at, where this year is taking us, things that you might need to know, things that might be getting in the way, what you might need to really like focus in on so that you can create space for the new things that are wanting to come in. And then we'll also get into specifics with you. Cool. Yeah. So in general, let's just see. Right off the bat, we have strength. I don't know how well this card is going to be picked up, especially from this far away, but it's all good. I'll zoom in on the video. If people are watching the video version of this, you can find it on YouTube or on Spotify. But otherwise, if you're listening to this on Apple or Google Podcasts or Breaker, wherever you listen to your podcast, just know that the strength card came out, and this was number 1. So strength and number 8 of the major arcana. This is Leo energy. This is all about really finding strength and compassion, being bold, being confident in yourself. And it's also finding that like strength is not just mulling over, like being able to mull a like lamb, right? Just because you have the strength to destroy something does not mean you use it to destroy. And I think especially with this card coming up in this year, last year was the 8 year. It was all about abundance, and I think this year there's like this strength that's going to come through of bringing that abundance energy into this new year to clear away all the things that maybe still need to be shed in order for you to come into your fullest expression. So let's get deeper into. Oh my gosh! Okay, that was too many. I want spirit to be. That's not fair. I think also though, especially I was talking about the fires. Yes, it's like, oh, Leslie, you need to hear this. I'm gonna take both of those. But with the fires too, the strength are coming out. It's such a clear like, hey guys, like find that strength within you. Have faith, have compassion for yourself when you're going through this hard time. Lean into people. Also know that things are gonna come back stronger. Like you have the resiliency. We're humans. We're adaptable. You have the resiliency to get through anything, and like. Things might be hard, but again, like perspective is everything. And partner with that part of you that is able to kind of just like move through the shit. Survival mode is not a bad thing. I think this has been a theme that's coming up recently, just like in my mind, both around the fires, but then also personal life and things going on with my relationships with my family. But I've been thinking like survival mode's not a bad thing. Right? I think there's a lot of talking and wanting to get into safety and flow and creativity and the feminine, and that's all beautiful. And also the feminine can only flow as much as there's strength in the masculine energy to hold it. Right? It's like we need that strong foundation. We need that to be built. So if you're in survival mode, be in survival mode. That's okay. Just have the dual awareness that like you're choosing it, because there's something important here. Like there's something that needs to be built. If you want to build a business, if you have a mission that you really care about, if you're an artist and you have a project that you really care about, if you want a relationship and you want to build a family, just know that those are all really important things that can be the feminine, like divine intuition guiding you and like, I want this thing, I want to build this. Or if you were affected by the fire, it's like, I want to rebuild. That's a beautiful thing to have that desire within you. And now you go in and put in the work. So sure, you might have to be in that survival mode. You might have to be in the gaining resources and the whatever. You don't have to be a dick while you're doing it. You don't have to step over people, obviously. But you can be in that survival mode without necessarily having to drop into scarcity and really come out with a really strong foundation in which now you have the resources to be able to flow and to move in the direction that you want to build. Continue building. So we have 4 of Cups and 6 of Cups now. And one on top of the other. Actually, it was like one underneath the other. And so the 4 of Cups, we have this feeling of like choices, right? Like there's a lot of choices that are in front of you, but then also trying to find maybe a choice that's not as obvious, but that the world is trying to show you. And so we like to get caught up in like the black and white thinking. And I think especially when we look forward in our futures, it's like what's available to us, right? And that ends up being its own limitation because what you can imagine to be available for you is so dependent on your own biases, your own experiences, the people that you see around you. Like if you all went, like we grew up in the same area, like Melissa and I went to the same school together, we grew up in the same town together, we know the same people growing up, and we grew up in a very like middle class, upper middle class like city. And if that's our norm, then like that's going to be with the lens that we get informed in. Versus if we grew up in like Compton, right, or we grew up in Beverly Hills and went to private schools, like it'd be a completely different mindset of what is available to you, what is safe to have, what is like the right thing to do, what is okay to do, your moral code of conduct. All these things get affected by it. So the 4 of Cups is really like she's trying to figure out where to go next. And she's just sitting, contemplating, feeling those feelings. And then there's something that is coming out of her, like outside of her, like a hand in the cloud coming out, bringing literally a new chalice that if she just looked over and she was just open to seeing things a different way, feeling a little bit differently, approaching a desire differently, then it could bear a whole new pathway in which she wouldn't be able to think of for herself. So really the 4 of Cups brings energy of like, feel things in approach things in a different way. Feel your feelings, see where you're at, because this is still an emotional card, right? It's the suit of emotions. So you're letting your feelings kind of like cloud, not necessarily cloud your judgment, but you're letting your feelings rule a little bit of where you're trying to go. Hi, Draco. If you guys are watching the video, Draco, who's our friend that we're saying is giant simulated. Hi, buddy. Come over here. Just watch in front of the camera. So if you want to see a super cute football, watch the video. But yes, so the 4 of Cups. Open yourself up to new ways of being. Don't get caught up in that black and white. Don't get caught up in like what's just in front of you. And I think this going into the strength part, it's really like have the strength to approach something from a new direction. Like let yourself feel all the feelings. Oh my gosh, and we're in the full moon of Cancer too. We were listening to this morning. It was literally like feel all your feelings. Like allow yourself to feel the depths of everything. It's like don't be afraid of taking a path that might require you to feel new things and differently, and something that might feel scary because you've never done it before, because that's going to help. Like that's why you have strength, right? You have strength because sometimes you need to use it. And in these cases, especially when it comes to closing out old chapters, leaving behind old relationships, leaving behind an old career, or just knowing that you need to make a change, you've got to have that strength to leave behind what is not for you anymore, or what is not for you anymore. And we've moved into the 6 of Cups, which is all about gratitude. So underneath the 4 of Cups, we have the 6 of Cups. So there's this reciprocal energy of giving and receiving that we need to find a balance in. And so when it comes to choosing a new path to move forward in 2025, really check in with what are you giving and what are you receiving? Does that feel fair to you? Does that feel equal to you? And you kind of have to keep in mind, like, what is the paradigm of fairness? right? Because fair when you're living in a victim mentality is like everybody should be giving things to you and like things should come easy and like you shouldn't really have to try. Or like you're trying so hard and like nobody's seeing you. Like because if you're giving so much and you're not receiving anything. So you really gotta check yourself too of where your mindset is at. Because if you're coming from a creator perspective where nobody's against you, no one's trying to like get you either, like no one's gonna try to save you, and you actually have the ability to move out of whatever situation you're in and make changes, then it's gonna come straight down to how are you giving and receiving to yourself, right? How are you meeting your needs, and how are you getting your needs met by others, or trying to find ways to get your needs met, right? It's also, if you have your needs met, how are you also making sure that you are someone who is of service to others, right? It's instead of like thinking about me, or just you, it's like us. It's that us mentality. And I think with this card, there's also a bit of like inner child healing that comes up for me every time I see it, because there's these kids who looks like the same, just like giving these flowers. And remember to like give from the overflow, give from abundance when so you're not like pouring from your own cup, because then you're just kind of running in a circle of needing to fill up your cup so that you can give to others. But your cup is never fully full, which leads to that constant like scarcity or that constant like I can't rest energy. But when your cup is flowing and you can let it overflow, then you can always give from the overflow. And so this inner child healing piece is really like having the maturity to like tend to yourself and like be a parent to yourself, give yourself what you need, and then find that recognition where you're like, okay, cool, now I have enough, let me give to others. So how's all that feeling so far?
It's interesting because I feel like all of this is landing like super hard for just like us in the present with like the fires. Like, okay, have the strength to feel your feelings, kind of like make sure that you're basically tending to yourself before you give to others. But it's gonna be interesting to see like how this plays out for like a whole year.
Yeah. I mean, like this is setting like such a motif maybe for like the first quarter or even throughout the year. I know we had a whole conversation about one of my, not like close friends, but one of my friends that I have worked with. She lost her home, and I was like, how much do I donate? Like, I want to donate something, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm also not like doing that great. So what do I do? So yeah, like there's definitely this balance that's coming through. All right, let's see for the rest of this year. What do people have to be aware of? What are we really needing to shed? How do we shed it? Actually, just wanting me to use this deck. So we're gonna switch this right away. Okay, very clearly, we have the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords in reverse specifically. The Three of Swords is like heartbreak card. So, and it being in reverse is like let the fuck go, like let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. The way the reversals work is so interesting because there can be multiple interpretations of it, but this one came out so strongly as like it's like over, like steak is overcooked now. You know, like this is like overdone. It is time to let go anything that you feel like heartbreak towards, grief towards, resentment towards, bitterness towards. It's anything that feels like that piercing thing in your heart that's just like, ooh, that like hurts so bad. It is time to let those things go. This can be like past traumas, and this is where I'm going to approach it very like, look, I have a lot of empathy, and at the same time, I think one of the most empathetic things is to, maybe not empathetic, but one of the most loving things you can do is to tell the truth, right? And tell the truth fully. And this is where I don't baby people, especially when I'm coaching them. It's like if you're coming to me or if you're watching this, you care about your growth. You care about actually being holistically well. You care about like having the things that you want to have, being the person that you want to be, and being in alignment with the truth. And the truth is, a lot of the heartbreak that we experience, a lot of the grief we experience is a mental experience, and a lot of it is self-inflicted. Like a lot of times you break your own heart. You break your own heart because you are attached to a story and not reality. And reality can be whatever you perceive it to be, right? Obviously, there's no one objective reality. But that's the thing, is like when you have given a specific story, a reality, an illusion, an image, a desire, so much power, as like have attached yourself to so much to it, it breaks your own heart. It creates all this grief because you don't have it anymore, right? This could be with a relationship. This could be with how you felt how you thought you were going to feel when you got this promotion. This could be, you know, thinking that everything was going to be okay if you just like surrendered all material goods and you became a monk, right? Like, and then you realize, no, there's like actually so much more to it. So this is like releasing all of the mental paradigms that have led to this grief, that has led to all this attachment of like, you know, you can't have joy anymore because this person's not in your life, or, you know, you can't be who you want to be because you don't have the money right now, or you can't just, like, all of these limitations, all of these barriers that makes us feel like this crushing like defeat. It is time to let that shit go.
I feel like my thought was going to like, well, isn't everything self-inflicted because, like, you know, we're the main character of our own story. But I feel like in a way, like, that is powerful because it's like, well, yeah, then you have the power to change your story.
Yeah.
And like change your narrative.
Yeah. Like, I will say this, because we were talking about this recently too. Last year, I made the decision, and it's funny because I'm like, I'm 26, almost 27, and last year I was like, you know, 25, 26. I made the mental decision to stop blaming my mom or making any excuses of like why I'm not where I'm at, or like why I'm not as happy as I want to be, or like anything like that. I just decided to like stop blaming my mom for anything like that. And it was really powerful. And you're like, you know, people have resentment towards their family and like blame their family trauma for their whole life, you know, into their 60s and 70s. Like, I've worked with them, you know. And then there's other people who maybe come to this understanding and this enlightenment maybe like in their teenagers or like as adults, like, you know, young adults. But for me, like, wherever you're at with that stuff, it's like basically the decision just came from it is not serving me anymore. It helps like nothing for me to come back to, well, because of this trauma and because of the way that my mom, you know, treated me in this way or whatever, then that's why I'm feeling these patterns. That's why I'm experiencing these things. And like, that's it, right? There's a time and a place to have that compassion and empathy for yourself. But compassion and empathy doesn't mean stillness. And I think that's also one of the big things that people get stuck in with personal development, and why people actually like, especially high achievers, perfectionists, like children of immigrants. I see this a lot where it takes a lot for them to even ask for help and reach out for help, because there's almost this fear of, well, if I were to just chill out, then I would just achieve nothing, right? If I didn't use money as like a success measurement, if I didn't like beat myself up, if I didn't shame myself, if I didn't tell myself I was lazy, then I would be actually lazy, right? Then I would just lose all motivation. And that's like the fear, right? It's not true. And same thing with like, if you let go of the stories of past traumas and how people have wronged you, how people have hurt you, how like upset you were because this person did this thing to you, if you let go of those things, I think people are afraid that their pain is no longer valid. That they're not allowed to feel like, they're not allowed to complain, they're not allowed to feel hurt, they're not allowed to have a bad day, they're not allowed to, you know, be stuck anymore. And in a way, that's kind of true. In a way, yeah, like, why would you want to be stuck in always complaining, always seeing the negative side of things, not feeling like you're good enough, and always coming back to, well, there's a reason for that, and that's just who I am, right? Like, so in a way, like, yeah, you don't get to feed into your own bullshit anymore, but people are missing the whole other side, which is why the point of doing that is so you can have everything you want. The point of letting it go is so that you can actually finally experience the peace and the joy of being who it is that you are, of being fully loved, of being successful in the way you want to be, and feeling true ambition and purpose in your life, and being driven by something that's not fear-based, that's not scarcity-based, that's not like shame-based, but actually driven by desire and responsibility and love. And like, that is such a novel experience, I think, for so many people, that we end up sabotaging it. We don't even get to the point where we allow ourselves to experience it, because somebody can be like, well, you know, you're creating that for yourself. And they're like, well, fuck you, you know? Like, you haven't been through what I've been through. You know, you obviously haven't gone through trauma, or it's easy for you to say that because you're a celebrity, or you have privilege, or you have this. And it's like, come on, you know? Like, get over your own shit.
Yeah. Well, I'm really proud of you for making that realization. and kind of letting go of it. And I feel like, yeah, like you said, I think that that's something hard for people at any age to kind of like recognize that it happened, kind of realize how that's impacted you, but then like you said, not getting stuck in that, like actually moving on with your life and like, okay, well, what can I do now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's really awesome. That was your 2024.
Thanks.
Hopefully that inspires some people to make that happen in 2025.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay, so we have the next card. We have the Five of Wands. So this is a fire card, intuition, you know, and it's funny because we have the Three of Swords. It was a sword card, which is all about air, the way that we think, right? But it's so much about heartbreak. So it's really like that connection between your mind and your heart, and how that grief, how that experience is so real. And now we have the Five of Wands, which is this conflict. And it's this conflict of desire, conflict of intuition. So many people kind of having their hands in their pot of like, what should we do? What do we want to do? Like, what's good to do? And it's like, ooh, so many different voices in our heads. And so this tends to be the thing that gets in the way of why we don't maybe release. Like, I was asking for the cards to show what might be blocking people's ability to truly let go.
Mm.
And it's this inner conflict. And I think this comes down to get really clear on what your priority is. You can have all the desires in the world, and they can all be met for you, yes. And at the same time, we are human beings that are constricted by our physical bodies, by our experience of time in this world, even though time's not linear. You know, we can go down the whole time is not a real thing, but at the end of the day, like, our time on this earth is limited, right? So in this phase of life, in this new year, really get clear on what is your priority. Not priorities, but priority. Because when you have that number one thing that's clear, it's going to be the thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary, right? That's how I want people to think about priorities and how to choose your number one. That thing that you're going to focus on this year is it's going to be the thing that makes life easier for you. It's going to be the thing that allows you to be more in flow. And for most people, this is going to be understanding that you are your own priority, but even within you, there's multiple aspects of that, right? Is it your financial situation? Is it your health? Is it, you know, your relationship, and choosing whether or not you want to be in a relationship or whether or not you want to stay in a relationship that you're in, right? Like, getting really, really clear and specific on what it means to, like, for you to be your own priority, because that's also so vague. If you can get really clear on, like, I know if I meditate daily, that's going to significantly impact my judgment, that's going to put me in such nervous system calm that I'm going to be able to make much better decisions in my business, in my career, in my relationships, in my health, right? Then that should be number one. If your number one thing is like you're stuck in a bad situation right now, you're in an abusive relationship, you know, are in a sketchy job, and like, you know, you're afraid to, like, whatever it may be like that, and your number one priority is get your finances right, then that's going to be the number one priority, right? Like, whatever you can do for that, doesn't matter if you're like up until 3 a.m. grinding on a business or applying for jobs, you know, if you have to take on multiple jobs, like, so be it. Like, you find your way to support yourself through that, like, then that's okay, right? But this comes back down to survival mentality is not bad, as long as you're not in it for, like, you know, for a long period of time. But if you need to be in survival for a little bit so that you can be on your feet and have that clear priority so that things can get rolling, do it. Just do it, right? Okay. Now, let's see if we all do this, right? What are we going to get out of it? So if we are all in alignment, we have the Empress, and then we have the Four of Pentacles side by side, one in front of the other. So if we're able to move past our shit, let things go, do all that, if we're able to choose a priority, stick with it, and really keep in mind that we are in charge. We're not in control of our minds sometimes, right? But we are in charge of what comes out of that. We're in charge of how we respond to our thoughts, respond to our feelings. We're in charge of how we respond to the world. So if we're able to keep that in mind, then what's going to come for us is really being able to truly nurture the things that we want to nurture into this world, And the Empress is really about this like birth, right? She's always shown as pregnant and this very like fertile energy, very loving, divine feminine, right? And the divine feminine here is like mother energy. So you're going to be able to step into such a loving, nurturing energy by doing this, where the thing that you want, the family that you wanted, the relationship that you want, the health that you wanted, the finances that you wanted, you know, the recognition that you want, anything like that is going to be able to now be stewarded into the world. It's going to be ready to be birthed. And I think this comes to what's going to happen after this year, right? Such a like big birthing energy, such a new like clean slate energy is coming through. And so with this, it's really like got to clear away all the things, get things settled. It's like if you're going to be a mom tomorrow, right? Or dad, right? If you're going to be a parent, things better be ready, right? You don't want to go into completely blind. So what do you have to do to prepare for that? And that's what this year is about, is clearing away the things that need to be cleared, prepping the space so that now the Empress is safe and feels secure to bring things into light. And that's also what we see with the Four of Pentacles, Four being this material abundance and structure, stability, this coming into fruition of all of the hard work, and specifically within the material world. So we see like that financial security, right? He's literally like holding on to the pentacles and the coins, and he has his feet on his coins, like he has it secured, locked down, like it's all good. So the material world is going to be all good. Your health is going to be in check, your finances are going to be in check, your relationships are going to be in check, like all that shit is going to be locked down, secured, built on a solid foundation for this like new birth to come through. That's why we do this shit. It's important.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. How is all this landing?
It's good. It's like interesting seeing how all that connects,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you had to make like a free line, what would you say about?
That's a really good question.
Or do you wait till the end?
I feel like this feels pretty complete. Hi friends, I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far, and if you are, and you're curious to get your 2025 reading, you can go to the link down below in the show notes to book your one-on-one call with me. We'll be able to go through an entire soul whispering session, so using the spiritual guidance of tarot and human design, as well as the pragmatic guidance of life coaching to really get your mind, body, and spirit all in alignment for 2025. Literally no matter what you were going through, whether it's a breakup, wanting a new relationship, new career, whatever it is, I can help guide you into clarity of your next steps so that you're no longer stuck in overwhelm or fear or judgment. You can just move forward with peace and clarity, knowing that everything you want is on its way. So all the information is going to be down below. You can go to my site at jensui.com, that's JENCUI.com, and book a session with me today. Now back to the episode. The starting point is to go within and to really get clear on what you're feeling, what your intuition is telling you, so that you can have that as like the locked in point of, all right, like I'm going here, right? This is like the map pinpoint, and it's truly your own. And you have the courage to be like, this is what I want. I'm claiming it for myself. I'm gonna be open to finding new pathways. I'm gonna make it work. Once you have where on the grid you're locked in on going, then it's all about putting all of your mental and emotional, intuitive, creative energy into that thing and having the tenacity to watch it come into fruition, right? And like always coming back to why, always coming back to the reason why I'm doing this is because, right? This is my number one priority, because this is not like this. If you go through a challenge this year, right? It's like, or you're coming across a decision of like, ooh, I want to do this, but I also said I wanted to do this. It's like, what did you decide? And why did you decide that? And then there's not a question anymore. Don't let the battle of multiple desires kind of trap you in the shiny object syndrome, or in like, you know, the distraction of your energy, because there's countless distractions. Let yourself be guided by that one navigation point of like, you decide now, and let it come into fruition. You won't regret that. Yeah. Thanks for asking. So, tell me, Melissa.
Yes.
Is there anything specific that you want to know for yourself?
For this coming year?
Yeah. Like now hearing everything that came through.
I was thinking, I was like, I think I need to like mull over to figure out like what is my one priority for the year, because I don't know that I have one as of current. Because I like move around so much for my job, and I'm kind of in this like relationship limbo. It's like, well, what piece do I want to focus in on? I'm not sure yet. Like, I think in general, I kind of have this security of like, I'll keep growing in my job, you know, so I feel like that's like not as much of a focus. Maybe I do want to know more about relationships. I think currently, at the start of the year, I'm not like ready to dive in, but I think my long-term, like I desire a long-term partner. Like, I kind of want something secure that I can build upon.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to know, like, what is in store for me in 2025?
Yeah, let's look
It's like
into
so
it.
vague, but
No. Let's look into it. Let's see. Okay, we have the moon being where you're currently at in reverse. And so the moon's all about following your intuition and facing your fears.
so I'm not doing that. Is that what
the
that
card's
means?
saying it, not me.
Okay.
There's a little bit of this energy of like not necessarily avoiding discomfort, but seeing discomfort, seeing the fears, seeing where your intuition's being guiding you, and deciding to stay still. And it's like, interesting, right? So, because if the moon is blocked, if the intuition's blocked, that's like the moon is the feminine. The moon is all about receiving. The moon is this like guiding light that's like within us. It's high priestess energy too, where it's kind of the inner vision. And, you know, it can be really scary to actually admit what is it that you're wanting or where you're being guided. But at the end of the day, it's like whether or not you know what your truth is consciously doesn't change the fact that it's actually true for you. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Like when we talked about, because we talked about hypnotherapy so much, and you've actually done hypnotherapy with me. But when we talked about it with other people, and you're sharing with people your experience and like what you learned from it, right? So much of not being able to change is not feeling safe in the new baseline, or not actually truly believing something good about yourself, for example, right? And so it's the same thing as, you know, if you truly wanted to be a marine biologist, and you know that to your core, but in your head you're like, there's no way that it's possible, and like that's not practical, it's just no, like it wouldn't work, right? Just because your conscious mind has resistance about it and like you're already in something completely differently doesn't change the fact that the soul desire is I want to be a marine biologist, right? Like I feel called. So same thing with like feeling worthiness, or like love is around you and love is abundant, and like money is easy to make, and you know good health is like easy to maintain, and like, you know, this is just my reality, right? And people love me, and you know, I get to be at peace. Like all of these things that people actually want to experience, they end up not being able to because they're not seeing their truth. They're not seeing the truth that their subconscious is telling them. Because to me, it's kind of like multiple layers. It's like the soul, and then wrapped around that we have the subconscious, and then wrapped around that we have the conscious mind. So the soul can be like, you are worthy and you are lovable. And then the subconscious can be like, oh, you have to work really hard in order to have good things. And then the conscious mind can be like, I can only have good things in this specific field, right? Like I can be successful materially, but my relationships suck, right? Or I can have great relationships, but my health sucks, you know? Or I can be happy, but only to this amount, right? So we almost have to like dig through all of those layers to get back to the truth of like, you're worthy, but that doesn't mean that you're now entitled to everything that you want, because that's not how the physical world works.
Right.
Like you have to know that you're worthy in order to have the motivation, the drive, and the true desire to be like, okay, no, I can create this thing now. And then the subconscious has to get on board to be like, yes, it's safe to go after these things. Yes, like you're able to, you have the capability to, you're able to handle responsibility, you can handle criticism, you can handle conflict, you can handle all these things. And the conscious mind has to be on board too, where it's like processing and being able to like communicate effectively, being able to execute things, right? Like it's like we need all those layers in alignment. And so when the moon is like blocked, it's like the soul truth is blocked. So now you're just operating from like a human soul. And that's what I'm doing. But
Gotta stop operating from my human self.
no, we gotta partner. We gotta partner with things. That was a lot, and I don't know all of those things. So we're gonna ask you very clear. Where are you being guided towards? Okay, that was very clear. Thank you. No, it just flew the fuck out and hit you. Yeah, we have the Page of Wands. So Page of Wands, this is fire energy. I love it.
Got a lot of fire in me.
Yeah, you can pick Aries, Sagittarius, and also Leo energies. Right. So Page being very princess energy, divine feminine, the young divine feminine, very like novice. This is like, ooh, new adventure. So this is what's coming for you. This is where you're being guided towards. Is new adventure, right? That thing that's gonna light you up, that's gonna like start with curiosity potentially, that's like can bloom into passion. And so I think when you bring up relationships, this is one of those approaches of like people that you're curious about, relationships that you're curious about, activities that you're curious about, hobbies that you're curious about, all these things, and you lean into like just the curiosity aspect instead of like the king or the queen energy of really building something substantial like now, like knowing exactly what you want and trying to go for it, or jumping into something, right, or being this like super like projecting this version of yourself that's very confident and all this stuff. This is like, hey, like just lean into the curiosity, right? What would it be like to maybe go on this type of date, or what would it be like to kind of date this type of person? I know you've already been dating different types of people, which is great, right? And so it's kind of like lean into those things and just stay in the curiosity. I think this is also a calling card, not to call you out, but it's like, instead of the delulu curiosity of like, what could the future be like with somebody, it's like, stay in the present, but stay in the curious. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. What if you went this way? Oh, that's interesting. That's right. Oh, that's interesting about how I feel. Right? That's interesting about like, that thing that they said. Or, it's getting curious about your internal world and like your passion and like how do you actually feel, the excitement that you feel, or like how are you actually perceiving this situation. And I think that goes into grounding your mind, like coming back to you and your thing.
I can see how these are connected for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the time, especially in new relationships, I do tend to like think like way into the future, or like get to Lulu and not as much like stay in the present, which maybe part of that is like blocking my intuition because I'm just like spinning internally.
No, I hear you.
Spiraling, that is the word. So I can see how this would be beneficial. And I feel like even not in regards to relationships, there are so many things that I am curious about that I haven't like just put time into exploring, like you said, hobbies and things. So maybe just being more in myself in the moment in general, benefit my relationships.
Yeah, I think this is also a great reminder of your priority can be this intention that you carry yourself with. I think people have really gone into like, instead of setting goals for the year, it's like, what is your word for the year? What is your intention for the year? So your priority can be also to feel like joyful, right? It could be to be curious, right? To lead with curiosity, and that being the first thing, because curiosity is beautiful in the way where it'll like bring you into new things, and it will also help quell any like anxieties, fears, or judgments, because instead of jumping to trying to figure it out, you're training your brain to just get curious. Right? So let's see how you can do this. Ooh. That was a lot. Can I be a little bit more specific? I just want like,
This is like how my brain works.
I want like 1 or 2 things. Like 1 or 2. Okay. So we have the 7 of Pentacles in reverse. And the 7 of Pentacles, this is earth energy, right? This is like sowing new seeds and letting it grow, tending to the thing. I'd say for you, like, don't worry so much about planting seeds. Right, this is like, okay, something's been built and now I'm like planting something new and tending to the new thing, like waiting for it to grow. But this would be kind of like the middle card of like the bridge between these, kind of like that, right?
Okay.
And so the bridge being the Seven of Pentacles in reverse is like two fronts. You don't have to worry about planting roots necessarily, but also, oh, actually, the feeling that I'm getting in the visual from this is like you planting multiple seeds and just seeing how it goes. Yeah.
How does this, like, what are you envisioning when it comes to relationships? Or is this just in my life in general?
I think it's in your life in general, but it's everything in the material world specifically. So, purchases that you want to make, right? Places that you want to go travel to, people that you're curious about. Like, yeah, for you specifically within this is like try dating multiple people. Just get curious about that experience. Be curious on what it would take for you emotionally, mentally, to be able to create enough grounding in yourself and space within your heart, within your mind, and like how to manage your energy in which you can plant a seed and like kind of start dating like multiple people at one time.
Like, at one time. Okay.
Yeah, like at one time, like, you know, not saying you need multiple relationships at one time, but when you're dating, like you don't get locked in on one person.
I tend to do that.
We both do. We're the same.
It's like, oh, I'm excited about this person. Cancel all other plans.
We have almost the same birth chart, so I totally feel you on this. And I think this is one of those like confirmation pieces of that's okay for you. Like, it's okay for you to do.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that that's something that I've tried, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know that this feels right.
Yeah. But see, this also kind of goes into what the first cards were with the Four of Cups, being like what path should I take, and only seeing the kind of three chalices that are in front of you, and then there's a new path, right?
It's like,
yeah,
we're hanging out in the background.
Yeah, because there's also the like, well, why does it not feel right to date multiple people at the same time when there's obviously no commitment and there's intention, right? The intention is to find somebody who works best with you. And so if you think about it from this perspective of it's not bad to do, you're not actually going against your integrity. It's actually allowing you to have so many opportunities to practice communication, to set clear boundaries, to know what it is that you need, to ask for what you need, to test out how do you feel with different people approaching you differently, right? Like, how does this relationship feel different from this relationship? You know, when I tell somebody about my day, you know, in this, like, to this person versus this person versus this person, how do they respond? Which response do I resonate with more? I feel like this is actually an experience that allow you to get more and like get back into yourself and your experience of dating instead of getting caught up in somebody else's world. Because I think that's what I've seen.
That makes sense. I think that I've started to experience that a little bit at the end of 2024 when I started like dating with people at the same time. Just like, you know, 1-2 dates a year or something. But I think that, I mean, I feel like I even remember mentioning to you, like, oh, I noticed that, like, I match people's energies differently depending on, like, how they are. And, like, yeah, just, like, learning more about myself through the dating experience. So,
yeah,
it makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do tend to, not that I, like, disregard what I'm feeling when I'm dating somebody early on, but I do tend to, like, get very caught up in one person and, like, very excited and then, like, try to, like, I don't know, you know, set roots with them, basically. So, yeah, I guess this will be an interesting different way of approaching dating.
Yeah, because it's like that pathway is so clear for you. Like, you're a highly empathetic person. You're able to like put yourself in someone's shoes so quickly and so easily. You feel the feelings. You're very much so also a lover too. You know, so it all makes sense. It's like you have that unlocked. Like, you know how to be in that way. Now it's really just discerning very intentionally who gets that. And not from a place of like, I'm so great and like you need to fight for me and like, you know, I'm the prize, which I think is kind of sometimes toxic advice that we hear, because a relationship is reciprocal, right? But this is the thing, it's like when you actually get into this, goes into that Six of Cups energy, the reciprocal relationship. You get to see for yourself, how are you reciprocating in a relationship, both with them and then with yourself, and like the version of you that comes out with that person. Right? Because so much of love is really about like you loving the version of you that comes out with somebody.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily even that you love this person, especially at the beginning. It's that
Right.
you love how you feel when you're with them. It's you love how you're able to be yourself, how you're able to have this communication flow, how you're able to feel safe or not judged or like whatever, right? That's still your own internal experience. It's just being stewarded through this person, right? But you're getting to experience, okay, I like this part of me that's coming out.
Right. That makes total sense. I feel like people are always like, oh, like, my partner brings out the best in me, like that whole thing. So
Yes.
it's like, yeah, you have to find the person who you feel that with.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense.
Anything else?
Do you have? Like, separately or, like, still on the same wavelength?
Either way, anything that comes up, you hear this.
Ooh. Well, I feel like this also... Oh, my gosh. I feel like this also, like, the not setting roots, like, I think I'm curious now, is this also true in, like, my home space? Because I'm a traveler, travel physical therapist. Like, is it true, too, that I should keep traveling? Do I need to plant roots somewhere? Not that you can read this at all, audience, but there is no beginning or end to growth. You are forever expanding. And there's a sail ship, so I need to keep sailing.
It's funny. Yeah, is that how you're seeing it?
That's how I'm seeing it, but I'm like, like I think that like currently being with you in LA, it's like, I love being here and it does feel like somewhere I could set roots. But yeah, I think I'm like, am I ready for that now? And I feel like this is telling me to keep going.
Yeah, I feel like there's such a strong correlation between these two cards, if people can see, and I'll zoom in also. But with the moon and then this one, like the two pillars on either end and the body of water, and then the moon literally being the guiding light, like I feel like there's such a strong tie-in to this of what your soul is literally asking you right now or telling you is that there's no beginning, there's no end to growth, you're always forever expanding. So it's kind of like your choice. Not that your choice doesn't matter, but kind of like your choice, regardless of what you choose, as long as you're choosing something and you're moving towards something, you're like letting that sailboat sail, you're like getting out of the water and you're following intuition, like as long as you're kind of moving, right, or intentionally staying still, because staying still is also a choice, right, you're always going to be growing. Growing is like literally the natural state of, I think, all organisms, right, where we're not static. We're programmed to grow. We're programmed to survive. We're programmed to grow roots and to, grow flowers, just like plants are. And so even if you were to try to not grow, even if you told yourself, I'm not growing this year, there's no fucking way that's going to happen. Like, I think sometimes people try so hard to grow and it almost becomes like a to-do list item. Like, I need to go to therapy. I need to heal my trauma. I need to, XYZ. And I need to grow. And I think, like, honestly, sometimes the focus on growth can hinder your growth. So this is kind of understanding there's a cyclical nature of life that we follow, in which some periods are going to look like growth in the way that we want growth to look like, and other periods it's going to look like, quote, setbacks, which isn't actually a setback, right? But, which is funny because your pattern this morning said something about setbacks, or that there is going to be some type of setback that you can, after you're done with this next pattern.
Oh, it's starting next February. I forget what it said.
Yeah. You're like, setbacks? I don't want to be in a setback. But that's the thing, is like, we actually don't know where we're being guided towards.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Yeah. And so all we can focus on is being as authentic as we can in the present, following that curiosity, following the little crumbs, following that intuition, following that way. And then when we get there, we'll see, right? But even if you're trying to not grow, you're still going to grow. Right?
No choice in the matter.
Yeah. No, truly. Okay, but I do want to see, let's look into, after this round of your physical therapy, any guidance that wants to come through. Ooh, the tower. Well, we know the tower card very well.
I Hasn't our entire life become?
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So when you can go in the pool. Okay. I'm not taking these, but this one wanted to stay for it. So we got the Tower and we have the King of Cups also in reverse. So technically the Tower was reversed, but then I flipped it upright. So I'm gonna give you
them both in reverse.
I'm gonna give you both because so the Tower obviously all about upheaval, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the King of Cups is like, I mean, we see waves crashing on both of them.
Yeah. Well, the waves are like splitting in the Tower, and then they're like crashing into the King of Cups. So
this is true. So King of Cups energy is this energy of chaos can happen outside of me, but not within me.
I feel like that's true for me most of the time. Even currently, I'm like, I am zen internally, even though there's like actual fires outside of me.
Yeah, no, 100%. So the King of Cups is like that stability energy, right? And we see like the little boat and the little fish, and it's like we have just like this constant game of like being in the ocean, and this Tower is king. So it's like how are you going to stay grounded when things change? Yeah, honestly, like this is the thing with the cards is that even if it's something that I don't want to hear, it's like, well, you know, this kind of is upheaval.
Yeah.
Change.
You're saying you don't want to hear it because you don't want me to leave.
I don't want you to leave.
Yeah.
I don't want you to leave at all. But this is kind of like, hey.
Is this like a crown falling from the Tower?
Yes. And lightning and fire. It's literally chaos and upheaval.
Okay, so they were both in reverse though. What does that mean?
So with the Tower in reverse, it's a really great sign of things are coming down. Things are coming down, things are like starting to get rebuilt. Like the Tower is crashed. And the things, towers are like rarely ever a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if you resist them. Right? So this is really more so
a big change.
Yeah, this is more so the spiritual journey because it's a major arcana card, and then the King of Cups is a court card, which is more so an energy of a person, either who you are or a person around you, right? So, I mean, you can meet somebody who's a Cancer, Pisces, a Scorpio. This could be them coming into your life, and like the Tower really being like, well, maybe you meet somebody here who like changes everything, and then you want to set roots here, right? Or you know, you meet somebody and they make you want to get out of LA. Or you being in your emotional, like, masculine, grounded energy and being very decisive of like, well, maybe I just need to pull some more courage and go to Seattle, right? And you make a change in that direction and rebuild, right? It could be in the actuality of what it's going to look like, it could look like a bunch of different things. But as far as change goes and upheaval goes, this is like rebuild, like rebuilding from scratch and letting go of what doesn't serve you. And so again, like same with like the 9 energies and stuff. I think specifically because we're looking at career, it's just interesting for the King of Cups to come out because this is so much of a healing part and like leading yourself, being an emotional leader in your life. So it's gonna come down to I don't want to say like emotional maturity, but like emotional awareness, like your ability to be aware of like what do you actually want and how do you really feel, and choosing to lead yourself in that way, even if there's some, you know, resistance or upset or like, you know, fears, doubts, whatever. It's really being an emotional leader in your life.
I feel like I was very good at that in 2024.
Yeah, I think so.
Like as far as like where I wanted to go, even starting travel therapy, but like once I was there, deciding to stay or go, and like I feel like I was just going to where like I really wanted to. Like, it wasn't like I didn't even ask anybody else for that. To be fair, I was in a committed relationship, so like having relationship stability, I feel like maybe makes you more confident in your decisions.
Yeah.
So maybe this whole thing is like reconnecting with myself.
Yeah.
And just coming in and getting back into that energy. Yeah. I do feel very much like, I don't know where I'll go. I don't really know what I want right now, at the start of 2025. But
Yeah, you're definitely taking a big emotional leadership energy again, so I'm excited to see what this goes for you.
Me too. It's crazy whenever you like look back on the previous year, at least currently in our mid-20s, because so much can change. Yeah. So, but I just have to lean into the curiosity and not
Yeah.
not focus on setting roots. Right? Isn't that what it was?
Yeah.
Try to reconnect with myself, to reconnect with my intuition.
Yeah.
Start here.
Yes.
That will come.
Yeah. It's also interesting to hear with the King of Cups energy, knowing that you're a generator and with an emotional authority, because it's really like leaning into trusting those emotions, trusting the intuition. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today, and anything you want to bring up?
I kind of am curious what your energy is in regards to like me and my moving status.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like you don't want me to leave, but what does that mean for you? Like, where are you going with your... Because I feel like you're also in this energy of like, you want to stay in LA?
Yeah. Honestly, do you want to pull some cards for me?
Ooh, I'd love to pull some cards for you. I don't really know. Talk me through it.
I haven't had someone give me a reading in a while. I'm definitely not somebody who's like just a friend.
Just a rando.
Just like not into tarot. Or not into tarot, but doesn't practice tarot themselves. What deck are you feeling?
I mean, this is like the classic deck.
Yes.
But I kind of want to do this one.
Go for it.
These are such big cards.
So I always clear the deck first. So I snap. The way I clear decks is I snap 3 times to clear it, and then I charge it with the intention of divine love, light, and truth. And then whenever I feel like that has like gotten through the cards, then I start shuffling with the question in the intention, either out loud or in my head, and see what pops up. And if nothing pops up, it's also just based off of like intuition, right? Of this feels good to stop here, and then you can cut the deck, you can pick from the top, you can pick from the bottom, you can fan it out. Up to you.
I like the shuffling.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah. Did you want to ask the question? Because I know I kind of started, but...
Yeah, no, I would be curious, because I have been feeling so pulled to like leave LA for a while, and I have just been scared, but I see more and more now. Oh my gosh, my Saturn return is about to come up. For those of you watching and those who don't know, highly recommend looking into your Saturn return. And so your Saturn return happens around ages 27 to 29 when it starts, because Saturn stays in the same sign for about 3.5 years, I think is what it is. And so it'll start anywhere between 27 to 29. And Saturn's about to go back into Aries, which is the sign in which it was at when I was born. And like people who, a lot of like 1998 babies were born. So you're gonna just have to check in your chart where Aries is, where your Saturn is in. So mine is Saturn in Aries in the 7th house. And the 7th house is all about relationships, family life, love.
Whoa.
I know. And
on the same topic.
Oh my gosh. And I'm a Libra rising, which means that my destiny is all tied to partnerships, is tied to relationships. Like I really learn a lot and find a lot about myself, and also am able to fulfill a lot of my purpose through relationships. And so it just tracks. My Cancer's in midheaven. That's why I like to do what I do in service of others, and really nurturing and caring for people. My human design, like it all like tracks. It all tracks to show why I'm such a deep feeler and why I'm such a relationship oriented person. And I fought that for so long. I was a closeted, hopeful romantic for so much of my life.
Closeted. Sounds almost rude to the LGBT.
No. There's a thing
I know what you're saying.
There's a thing called the broom closet too, where it's like, you're afraid to come out as like witchy, or like you're into tarot and cosmology.
So you were in the broom closet and the romance closet.
Yes, big time.
You were in a closet inside a closet.
Yes. And the signs that I've been getting from multiple like ancestors, spirit guides has been the peacock. Like I was told by a medium who like I'm not someone who just like goes and seeks out like relationship with stuff. I'm still very, very much so like in the pragmatics of things. And it's funny because I feel like when I'm in the spiritual community, I'm like way too, I'm like not spiritual enough, not woo enough. And then in like the typical world, I'm like way crazy, like woo woo. Like it's so funny. It's so funny. But anyways, I bring it up because this medium told me that my ancestors were showing her a peacock and that this is a very important symbol for me. I was like, okay, like trying to figure out what that means. 2 days ago, one of my spiritual mentors was telling me that, like, because I was asking her as a projector in human design, how can I really like set myself up to receive the invitation? And she was like, this sounds really general, but like peacocking. Literally, like, you know, like you gotta show your excitement. You gotta like be, you know, say your truth. You know, just be shown, be seen, peacocking. Literally peacocking.
I always think of like men trying to like
dance.
Dance for a woman when you say peacocking.
Yeah, no, but it's actually so true because it's like that's what attracts people in and like turns people off, right? Which is what you need. And then Vishwa,
to find the right people.
Right, and then Vishwa, the person that we're staying with, her bathroom
is
downstairs.
peacock.
Peacocks!
The minute you said that, I was like, "There's peacocks right over there."
Yeah, I just saw it yesterday. And I was like, "No way!" So I was like, "Okay, message received."
Okay, peacocks.
I understand. Yeah, I'm like, it's time for me to like show my colors, show my feathers, shake a tail feather, as some would say, and just be fully seen. So I'm out of both the broom closet and the romance closet. And the Saturn return is my fear / intuition. I've been fearing what my intuition has been telling me, right? But that being said, I have discernment of what is my intuition. And I think this next chapter for me and Saturn return is going to be about coming into my full independence, like partially financially with like, you know, just moving away from my family. And also leaning into that partnership with them, right? Like whether that's with a partner, without a partner, but my feeling is like it will be with a partner, but it may not be like. I got this message a couple years back that I'm meant to be in multiple relationships in this lifetime, which is kind of like.
One time? Or
no, in this lifetime.
Oh,
in this lifetime,
see.
Which was a little heartbreaking for me in some ways because I kind of had that romantic like ideal of that one lifetime love. So,
you've already been in a few relationships though.
Yes.
So like, does that include those?
I don't know.
I would assume so.
I think like where I'm feeling right now is I can see myself having like a long-term relationship with somebody, like maybe like decades and decades. And maybe something happens, and then like, you know, then I'm single again, and maybe finding love again. Right?
It's possible with anything. Right?
Yeah, everything's possible, but I guess I bring it up because this Saturn return, I'm like meeting this person that you know about. Like, it's kind of just again that brain just being like, oh my goodness, okay, like I feel such a pull to like explore and like go deeper and like be like in it and just like go all in. And then I also feel that like fear piece of like, ooh, pull back, like not safe. And I think part of that is I could totally see myself moving out of LA.
With this person or avoiding this person?
With this person.
Okay. This is how you're tying it back. I was like,
yeah, this is how all of the time. I know. I just said like so much. I gave so much background into everything because I'm just like, here's my full picture.
I think it's important to know the background.
Yeah. And this is also how I feel when people like come to a session with me because they're like, well, here's all these things. And I'm like, is this all important? And I'm like, okay, yes, I see this and this and this and this and this, and this is the through line.
Like, yeah, put them all together.
Yeah. So with everything that's literally like all these pieces kind of coming into fruition and coming into play, my brain definitely wants to go to like figure it out mode. Like I'm a human too, guys. Okay, I have all the tools and it definitely helps, but I'm still a human. So my brain definitely wants to go to figure it out mode of like, is this person like a person that I should take very seriously, intentionally, and like fully commit to, right? Even though it's so new. Or do I like cut and run? Or
cut and run.
I know. Or which is the balanced approach for me is like take it day by day, right? But be open to all of this other stuff.
The curiosity.
Yes, and honestly, I get really excited when I think about that, and I get really scared. But I think the fear piece is literally just the I don't know if I can do it.
How does this tie back to what you just predicted for everybody for 2025?
Ooh. See, this is why I love having you and like these people on the podcast because I'm like, yes, strength. That first card, yeah. Is that what you were thinking? You're like, remember what you pulled? The strength
I
card?
want you to find the answers yourself. But yeah, I mean, like the first, well, I kind of coach people in my
yeah. This is true.
PC.
Yes.
Like the first 3 cards.
Yeah. Let's see.
Do you still want me to ask the same question, or do you want a different question?
I think I'm just open to seeing what I need to hear. I think I want to know.
What
like,
does Jen need to hear?
Yeah, what do I need to hear about like how they just move forward? Because I don't want
Should I start over? Right?
to. How do you feel? You're in charge of the cards now.
Alright, oh my gosh, so much power.
Really, truly.
Alright, what does Jen need to hear from you? Oh my gosh. See how you can lose so many when they're so big.
Even when they're tiny, they just fly out.
Yeah. Oh, there was 2 that flipped.
Okay, we're gonna
This
go
is in
with
reverse.
Temperance.
There was one in here somewhere. Okay, so in reverse. Hold on one second.
We have Temperance in reverse. Ooh, Temperance is a Sagittarius energy, actually.
And you have the Hanging Man in reverse.
Ooh. Oh.
Tell us. What does it mean?
Do you want to give me an interpretation?
I don't know.
Just from what you see.
Oh, literally just from the pictures?
Yeah. I mean, I already have messages, but
All right.
I'll let you.
I really
play
don't
this out.
know what the Hanging Man means. Like,
Hanged Man.
sorry, the Hanged Man. Oh, he's already been hung.
Oh, but he's not dead.
He's not dead. He's just
Being
hanging.
hung by his foot.
Okay. Well, okay. Temperance, I feel like is all about balance because there's 2 cups.
Yeah. And
And
this
this balance. Yes. Well, I'm trying to read them first.
Okay. Sorry.
So you're not balanced.
I think we both reversed, right?
Both are reversed.
Okay. Yes.
I'm genuinely confused.
That's okay.
I just don't understand what the Hanged Man is supposed to mean.
There's not supposed to. I mean, there kind of is, but there's also not. That's the thing. You gotta be careful.
Like, I feel like being hung by a tree, you're kind of just like swaying in the breeze, going along with life.
Oh.
And it's like, well, actually, no, you have more authority than that.
Mm.
And like, the scales are not balanced currently, is what I'm reading. Interpreting as temperance.
Yeah.
in reverse. But
That's
give
so
us your
interesting.
more informed interpretation. Knowing what
Well,
the cards mean.
I love hearing what you have to say because it's just refreshing to hear like a new thought.
Okay.
But yeah, temperance is all about finding that harmony, finding that balance, right? And Sagittarius is the card of temperance, and because Sagittarius is such a like a bow and arrow and like let's just go for it, and like it's really having to learn how to navigate and like pull back and like But with temperance and the hangman is all about suspended action. It's like taking a pause, gain perspective. Like, don't try to do anything right now. You don't have to make a decision right now. It's actually a time to just like wait, get perspective, and then decide with more information. However, with both of these being reversed, it's like get off your fucking ass. Who cares about like don't try to be so balanced all the time. Go for it. It's like a hey.
I feel like
just
this is what I've been
push.
telling you. Like, just go for it, Jen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what? It sounds. Anyways.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm tempering too much. Like I'm like trying too hard. I was coaching somebody the other day where I literally brought up temperance because she was trying to find joy. It's going to be on a podcast. She's another fellow coach. So it's going to be on a podcast. I'm not sharing anything that's not going to be shared already. But she was trying to find joy after losing her husband. And it's been, I think it's been a little bit of time now, and she really wanted to go on this expedition. I forget where, like maybe the Arctic or somewhere really cool, and go like dive with the orcas. And there's a part of her that just feels so like it's not going to be fun without him, right? Or you're going to be sad during the trip, you know. And at the same time, she feels so pulled by like, oh my gosh, you're going to feel so much joy. And like the moment an orca swims by, you're just going to be so like present in your body. Like there's obviously you deserve to have joy, right? Obviously. And so I brought up temperance because on one hand of temperance, and this is why it's so important to understand yourself and to find out your soul essence, to like come back to the virtues, right? Because on one hand, if you go too far in temperance, it's recklessness, right? If you don't have enough temperance. And then on the other hand, you have like prudence, where you know people are like, oh, you're prudent because you're sleeping with, not the thing, but that's how people use prudent, right? And so you kind of have to find that balance. And every single person's going to have their unique set point in which that feels good, that feels authentic to them, that feels good. But if you're trying to raise your baseline, if you're trying to truly be a different version of yourself, and you don't know if it's more authentic or not, but you know the version of you right now is not authentic, you have to decide where you're going to slide your set point. Are you going to slide your set point from being the 20-year-old who drank all the time, who's now like in their 30s, where, you know, you're still going out clubbing, you're still like, you know, it's not genuinely bringing you joy, it's not how you really have fun anymore, it's just kind of numbing now? Are you going to, and like you're seeking bigger and bigger risks, right? Are you going to slide that temperance back a little bit, where now what used to feel like normal for you, you're seeing as kind of reckless, and bringing yourself back through, right, towards prudence, but maybe not all the way, right? Versus on the other hand, if you're super risk adverse, if you're in scarcity mindset, if you're like, you know, don't want to take any financial risks, don't want to take any physical risks, don't want to take any emotional risks, right? Because you want to stay safe, and you're like, no, that feels good though to me, right? But you're trying to raise your set point for happiness, for excitement, whatever. Then maybe you have to pull a little bit and get comfortable with, yeah, this is gonna feel reckless, but I'm gonna do it anyways, right? And so that's like how we actually create change. We need to switch the set point, or shift the set point a little bit. So I definitely can see where, like, for temperance, there's areas in my life in which I feel like this can be reckless, but when I look from my soul self and I go outside of myself, I really see like, oh, that's actually still quite lifetime. Definitely. I see that. So this is good. Okay. How are you feeling hearing me say that?
I feel like it's interesting because like I know what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. I do feel like I'm telling you, like, you need to kind of, but it's like, you know, you can tell somebody something that like they need to like feel it themselves. So it's good that you have that outside, like that you can kind of zoom out from like see the big picture and see how like, okay, you know, when you're really zoomed in, it's easy to kind of like say on one specific reason why something wouldn't work, or like why it would be great, but then like just zooming out and being like, okay, well there's potential here and it's worth exploring, and it doesn't mean it's gonna result in anything, but it also doesn't mean like it's gonna ruin your future.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you might as well lean in and try it out.
Definitely. I think this goes into like something that my one of my spiritual mentors was saying, which is like almost choose from love, which is definitely like after having my virtue value vision system like written out. If people haven't heard about it, I have multiple videos on it. I think podcast number like 101 or 100 is all about my virtue values and visions core philosophy. But so one of the core values, right, that or virtues that we can only bring back to is love. And I've been thinking about this, where it's great to have your like insight and your like support, and you like kind of being like, okay, but you know, I'm challenging the fears because I can recognize them as fears, and I know if I were to take action from that place, it would be disappointing because I would be choosing from a place of fear and not love. Right. And I'm like, in order to expand my life, and especially if I want to enjoy more love in my life, I need to choose from love constantly, consistently. So, and boldly, audaciously, courageously, strength in love. So, yeah. I appreciate
The Leo energy. Cool.
Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything that you wanted to say that you wanted to chance to say?
I feel like I spoke my mind.
Okay. Melissa's also very wise. I love her very much.
Thank you.
So,
This
amazing.
has been a great way to, I think, also not get like so fixated on the fire and on the present and on the doom scrolling.
Oh.
By just being like, oh yeah, like there is a whole year ahead of us.
Yeah.
Things are going to come. We're gonna grow regardless. And it's nice to kind of take that again, like it really just smacked my life. Oops. It's nice to take that like zoomed out picture on like the whole year when like things in the present are so like, you know, devastating and like, you know, major. So
Definitely.
yeah, I've enjoyed this.
Thanks for being here. Alright, friends, that's everything for this episode. Looking forward to 2025 with more conversations with friends. Let me know what you think. Feel free to message me on Instagram at Jen the Soul Whisperer. And if there's any specific topics you want to see and me talk about with some friends, let me know. Otherwise, have a great rest of your year. And I will see you next time.
Happy 2025.